The more you read, the more things you will know. The more you learn, the more places you will go. A pleasant morning to our dear learners. This is Roger Ray, reaching goals of education for the youth. DWRR 94.5 FM. Another day, another blessing, another learning. Good morning, Odonelians, especially the grade 10 listeners out there. This is grade 10 English School on Air. I am your radio teacher broadcaster for today, Jose N. Valiente. How are you, grade 10 learners? I am glad that you are with me today. I hope that you're in the most comfortable seat right now as we begin our new lesson today. Just sit, listen, and learn. Are you ready? The milk that we will discuss today is composed and independent critique on a chosen selection. The objectives are to discuss the concept of critiquing, determine the subject of the poem, explain how the elements specific to a genre contribute to the theme, and to compose an independent critique. Before we proceed to our next topic, let us have a review about our topic last week. Our lesson last week was about correct. Our lesson was about the techniques in writing informative and persuasive essay. And now we will proceed to our next lesson. Kindly bring out your module in English 10 and let's discuss on how you can compose an independent critique on a chosen selection. Make sure that you're seated comfortably or comfortably and you can hear me loud and clear. Are you ready? That's great to know. To begin with, let's define critiquing. Critiquing poetry or a short story is about understanding and analyzing. Once you come to an understanding of the meaning of any literary piece, you can begin to respond to it. It is an in-depth evaluation for the purpose of giving the reading a public insight. Writing a critique requires you to reassemble the elements in such a way that your intended audience has a better understanding of the story's strength, weakness, and highlights. In analyzing a literary work, the first thing a critic will do is to identify the subject. The first thing a critic will do is to identify the subject. The subject is the idea or thing that the poem concerns or represents. Again, I would like to emphasize the subject is the idea or thing that the poem concerns or represents. The following questions can help you easily identify the subject. Again, the following questions can help you easily identify the subject. First, what is it all about? What is it all about? Who wrote it? Who wrote it? Why did he write it? Who or what influenced the poet or the author? Who is the persona or the speaker or the narrator? Again, The following questions can be help you easily identify the subject. You have to ask these questions. What is it all about? Who wrote it? Why did he write it? Who or what influenced the poet or the author? Who is the persona or the speaker or the narrator? After identifying or knowing the subject, the next thing a critic will do is to determine the theme. The central idea, the subject matter can reveal the underlying theme of a poem or short story. A critic must look at the content and message of the piece to uncover the theme. Learn when it was written to learn its historical context. Find out where it was written, what language the poet or author used. If you're reading a translation, see if there are other variations that can show different translators interpreted the original work. Examples of theme are love, wealth, politics, nature, history, and death. Once you have established at least a basic knowledge of poetry, be sure to follow these simple rules in each of your critiques. Are you ready? Start every critique with what you like about the poem and writing and end with reiterating the same points. Balance your critiques and suggestions with positive observations. Be sensitive to the writer. The point of a critique is to help improve the poet and not to insult their ideas and creativity. Label the critiques by line number. If they are line specific, simply write, I dislike the alliteration in line 5, and then be sure to state why you dislike it. Before writing the critique, read the poem several times, including once or twice out loud. Find out the poem's purpose. What is the poet trying to accomplish? Is he telling a story? Is he trying to persuade the reader? Does he want to scare the reader? Does he want the reader to laugh? Decide which poem type is used. Keep it in mind when critiquing. Does the author use the form correctly? You can use useful sentence stems for summary and critical review. Examples: the poem presents, the poem suggests, the poem proposes, the poem questions the view that, the author identifies reasons, issues, problems. The author claims, argues, asserts that, the author advocates the view that, it appears to me that the author, in my opinion, the article or the poem, the concept presented by the author is. You may also use this checklist for you not to lose track in critiquing a poem. Checklist for critiquing a poem. What is the poem literally about? What happens? What's the subject? Where does the poem take place? There is no definite setting. That's important to notice. Who is speaking in the poem? Is that speaker a character? Someone distinct from the poet? Who is the poem addressing? Are the rhythms expressive and appropriate to the subject? Do the sound, consonants, and vowel, rhymes, assonance, and alliteration, if any, sound interesting and effective? Are they easy to say or tongue twisters, pleasant or discordant? Are there repeated words, phrases, or lines in the poem? Are those repetitions effective or redundant? Is the poem written in meter, free verse, prose, or some combination? Is it done so effectively? How could the line breaks or meter be improved? How could the sentences be improved? Is the poem written in any particular pattern or form, such as the sonnet? Does the reader need any information that is not given? Is the title interesting or at least appropriate? If there's no title, can you suggest one? Does the poem move well from line to line, from stanza to stanza? Should the order be changed? Should there be different line breaks, stanza break? Does the poet use any irony, rhetorical devices, allusions, or any trick? If so, do they work? What do you like in the poem? What problems do you see? What suggestions that you can give the poet? What questions would you like to ask the poet? What confuses you? What do you not understand? These are the steps and things you have to remember when you compose an independent critique. Did you understand the lesson? That's great. I think you are ready to answer your activities, aren't you? That's good. Are you still there, great and learners? That's good to know. For your activity to be submitted, compose an independent critique. Again, compose an independent critique. Follow the guidelines presented on the last page of your module. Write your composition on a separate paper. Use the rubrics in your module as a guide. Make sure that your penmanship is legible and make your work clean. And now, for your assignment, kindly gather information about the following approaches. Again, kindly gather information about the following approaches: formalist, formalist, moralist, moralist, Marxist, Marxist, feminist, feminist, historical, historical, and reader response. Again, kindly gather information about the following approaches: formalist, moralist, Marxist, feminist, historical, and reader response. And that's our lesson for today. I hope you enjoy learning with me today. Don't forget to make your assignment. If you have queries about your task, do not hesitate to send me a message. Again, this is Sir Jose N. Valiente, your host and radio teacher broadcaster for today's broadcast, reminding everybody to study harder, stay home, and stay safe. Learn today, and success will come to your way. You are listening on DWRR 94.5 Radio Ray of O'Donnell High School. O'Donnell, do well. Thank you and good morning. Do not forget, today a reader, tomorrow a leader. O'Donnell, do well.